So tons of AI news happened in the last 2 weeks, so let's talk about the most important stories. Coming in at number one is we have now the number one software engineer in the world. And I think this is one of the craziest things because time and time again, we continually see the AI development is on somewhat of an exponential in the sense that most people don't realize right now, because I think that people have stopped paying attention to the model benchmark updates, because if you don't see like a 60% jump or a 40% jump like we used to when we went from GPT-3 to GPT-4, there isn't as much hype for those releases. But that doesn't mean that there isn't still amazing progress being made. And I would argue that this progress is not terrifying, but at the same time, it's fascinating, because when we actually take a look at this progress, okay, and I'm not going to spend too much time on this section of the video, but you have to understand that these benchmarks, okay, are based on, really, really hard questions and really, really hard technical challenges. And if you've ever used, Anthropic's systems and software, you'll know that their models are just really, really good when it comes to the vibes of the model. And the point I'm trying to make here, guys, is that although every 2 months or every month now we're gaining 3 to 5%, you have to understand that compounds, because if we have models that are 87% good, and then they're 90% good, and then they're 95% good, you have no idea the amount of compounding that has. Because I've actually tried to code a few things before, and sometimes you'll slow down, you'll use the software, and then there is this threshold where it finally becomes available where you can just one-shot entire programs, and it just raises the ceiling. So I think that once we get to that level where you can really just one-shot an entire app just completely, and it just works and everything just works out of the box, that is where we're going to get to that really, really crazy part. And I think it's crazy because slowly but surely we are continually actually getting there. And this was a reminder of that, because it wasn't that far between these updates. And from what I've heard, I've seen that people using these on Lovable and stuff like that, and even GPT-5 Codex, we've seen that some massive progress has been made. And I know that a lot of people haven't been paying attention to this, but these are the kind of updates that most people will just gloss over, but they still matter. Also, another thing, and this is something that I glossed over until I've been using the model now, and most people will not realize this fact, and I promise you guys, this is why I included it in the video, is because this psychofancy thing is real. AI psychosis, if you don't know what it is arguably one of the most dangerous things right now in AI that I would say, is a pressing issue. Of course, artificial superintelligence, pretty dangerous. We do need to worry about it, but, psychofancy is real because it causes AI psychosis, which, is essentially where your mental health degrades and you start having delusions of grandeur. And, the AI just sort of feeds back into that loop. And this is something that is particularly combative against that. Sometimes when I have an issue and I'm not entirely sure and I do want a second opinion, sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes I will just maybe ask an AI system to see if there are any specific instances that I'm not thinking about, and seeing if there are any gaps that I'm, missing or not filling. Because of course, the models, they essentially have much more information than I do on a wide variety of topics. And so if you actually ask Claude Sonnet 4.5 about, most things, now it's actually going to give you arguably the best advice, because when I put that same question into all the frontier models, I'm talking Grok 4, Gemini 2.5, ChatGPT 5, and Sonnet 4.5. Sonnet 4.5 was the only one who disagreed with me and improved my answer. Gemini 2.5 just said, yes, this is a great idea. ChatGPT said, yes, this is a great idea. Grok said, wow, this is cool. And Sonnet 4.5 said, this is a good idea. However, you may want to actually add this. And remember, do not do this because this would actually lead to this. And I'm not going to get into the details of that, but it was really stern in a sense, in a way that actually led me to, I don't want to say making certain decisions, but it just was thought-provoking to think that, okay, the AI isn't just, following everything I say and, I'm just going down the same train of thought. It was actually challenging me, which actually leads to an improvement. You have to understand that, if you're just, in a room where everyone thinks the same way, there's not really any kind of improvement there. But, if you have someone that challenges your ideas and your beliefs in a way that can improve them, I think that it is going to really change the game. So that's why I wanted to include this one here, because most people are just going to gloss over Claude Sonnet 4.5. But I personally believe that, you know, on a decision-making basis, I would suggest trying out Sonnet 4.5 because it really is good. Now, of course, there is computer use. I'm not going to get into that too much, but computer use has gone pretty crazy this week because Sonnet now leads at 61.4%, but also we had Google Gemini release their computer use, which also is now state of the art. So computer use, once again, I think people once again are not paying attention to this, and I think it's like the reason that people are not paying attention, and I'm going to show you guys Gemini computer use. I didn't actually add it in the slides, but I will show you guys just now. And so this is just me logged into my Twitter account. But yeah, computer use is pretty crazy because it's where the model just uses the browser just like you use. Well, not even just the browser, the entire computer. And I think that's pretty crazy. I think, you know, once this thing jumps up to around, you know, 80 to 90%, we are going to be in an entirely different world because we're going to be able to do a lot of tasks that we previously wouldn't have been able to do, which is pretty crazy. And I think it's pretty crazy that, you know, just literally within the same video, I'm showing a model that has been surpassed by another model that was just released, you know, not less than 2 weeks later. So for me, it was just pretty crazy that this has even happened. So computer use is just where, you know, they tell the model to do something, it clicks around, it uses the vision, and it's able to just go ahead and complete tasks. Now, essentially, I want to talk more about other AI systems, and this one was pretty crazy. So if you don't know who Terence Tao is, he's basically like the world's smartest mathematician, and he was actually able to use an extended conversation with GPT-5 to be able to solve a math overflow problem, and it actually helped him, you know, with hours and hours of coding. So it was pretty crazy that this thing has occurred because, once again, most people, and this is why I include this in the video, is that most people do not understand the pace of AI. Even myself, I really struggle sometimes to understand the pace of AI, because one thing that we don't realize is that from GPT 3.5 to GPT 4, we had a massive jump in capabilities because that was in the realm of our understanding. And I mean that when I say that, like, people that are that smart, like Terence Tao, and people with, you know, high IQs that are just working on, like, you know, those incredible things like PhDs and scientific discoveries, those are the areas where I'm starting to see now, they're like, you know, I'm starting to see tweets from those kind of people that are like, oh wow, GPT-5 is actually good for this, or it's actually good for this. I mean, I'm not someone who's able to work in those fields, and I'm not someone who actually works in those fields, so I'm not entirely sure how everyone is using it, but I've started to see more and more use cases where individuals in those fields are using it more in their workflows. And it's pretty incredible, because it means that, like, whilst most people think, okay, well, it doesn't write my essay any better, or it doesn't make images any better, we're still seeing that kind of intelligence where it's going towards the upper bounds, which is pretty crazy, because we know that, you know, theoretically intelligence might not have a limit. So it's crazy that, remember guys, AGI is what these companies are chasing. OpenAI have consistently stated that they've updated their mission to be a superintelligence research company, not even an AGI research company, superintelligence research company. So that being said, it sets a precedent of, like, okay, these companies are researching superintelligence, and so far we're seeing that maybe they're on track to do so. I don't know. There's a tons of different, you know, arguments and stuff that you can make, but so far it does honestly look promising. Now, so another thing that we do have, okay, is Sora. Now, the reason that I'm including this in the video today is because this is a really important piece of AI news. And the most important thing I can think about this is that AI video is now indistinguishable from reality. I'm going to say it one more time. AI video is now indistinguishable from reality, which means that you can no longer trust social media, which has some heavy implications for what I'll talk about later on in the video. But the craziest thing about all of this is that I fell for this. Now, I don't want to say it like I'm the person who's the bar for whether or not AI is realistic, but as someone who spends tons and tons of time, you know, just so much time on social media, you know, when it comes to consuming AI content, looking at AI video, generating AI videos, even with Sora too, okay? Most videos I see on social media, I can immediately go, okay, I know that that's Sora too. I can't confidently say anymore that I can detect when videos are completely AI, because they are just that good. And the point I'm trying to make, okay, is that if someone who spends a large majority, which is pretty much a lot amount of time for me even, and if I can't tell that this video right here was AI generated, I mean, I saw this in my feed, but I only knew it was AI generated when someone on Twitter, I'll leave a link to the tweet, they said that this was AI generated. So I was like, wait, this is AI. Like, and all of these people, they didn't even realize that this was AI. Like this was no, like there was no like kind of inclination that this was AI. Like I saw this and I was like, oh wow, it's a cute video, whatever. They fell in love, yada, yada, yada. And I'm someone who looks at AI video all the time. So for me, it was like, okay, we've definitely passed that threshold now where people who aren't even in AI, there's no way they're not going to fall for this. People who, you know, the much older generation, they're going to be falling for this stuff. So that kind of precedent is pretty crazy to just think about that we're now actually here. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it is really, really strange. And of course, this is of course the Sora 2 release. I did use these to make, you know, a bunch of interesting and different videos. Like, no, someone else made this one, I think.
From the future of the breakthrough at ChatGPT, the new interactive AI that chats with you like a friend.
What's the weather in Seattle?
Cloudy.
It can make like these cool 90s style ads of like, you know, whatever it is that you want. And you might think this has no use case, but I mean, you could use this for the entire marketing industry is about to get, you know, completely disrupted, in my honest opinion. There were also, you know, these old style videos as well. I thought
it
this
takes
one was
another
really cool.
step into the computer age this week as engineers in California unveil a machine they say can carry on a conversation.
I look exhausted. Maybe I should try something different. Okay, that's better. Hi, Glow Up. Stopper, the Glow Up app for women.
And yeah, I think one of the most insane parts here is that like, it's not like, this is the thing that most people missed about Sora, right? And for me, this was just like, oh wow, like this is just like, just exponential. This is what they mean when they say exponential, because when we take a look at this video, okay, so this video was a video that was released by someone and they essentially wanted to promote their app, like they're working on a mobile app called Stopper, I'm guessing, or if it was just a concept. But the most insane thing to me was that like, this didn't just generate a good AI video. It did the editing, it did the camera angles, it did the emotion, and it also did the motion graphics with the logo at the end. That was what surprised me, because it's like, even if video generation was super good, you would think that, okay, maybe I could still have a role as someone who puts the GIFs together. Then I could, you know, do alternate camera angles. I could have different pieces of music, but this literally did everything. Like, just watch it one more time, because like, you have to understand that this is zero shot, meaning just one prompt, one output.
I look exhausted. Maybe I should try something different. Okay, that's better. Hi, Glow Up. Stopper, the Glow Up app for women.
And so like, you have to think about the implications here. I mean, you know, is this going to replace entire creative media teams in the future? I mean, 10 years from now, what is this software going to look like? And there was another one that I did. Like, this was something where I was making a video talking about professional use cases. And I saw this, like I generated this myself and I still couldn't believe it. I was like, there's no way they don't have some people working inside of a company that is just, you know, pulling from a library, because this is just insane. So take a look at this one as well.
Meet the new Razer Enki Neo. Magnetic head cushion, ultra plush memory foam, 4D armrests that move any way you do. Recline up to 152 degrees and stay
And so yeah, that for me, that moment there when I generated this, I was like, wow, okay, wow, AI is really, really impressive. And I mean, if this is what video is looking like, of course, you know, I guess we can start to conceptualize what it's going to look like when maybe we have those intelligence jumps and there are just things that we can't understand. I don't know, guys. This was just something that was like, wow, like this genuinely really surprised me. Now we're going to talk about some other things. There was and so another thing I saw was agentic based frameworks have reached 70% on the OS World benchmark, which is a real computer cross OS environment for multimodal agents, which is very close to the 70% human mark. And once again, I just really I'm starting to realize that, okay, I need to take a moment to like, I actually did take a few days to actually think about this. The fact that like AI isn't slowing down, and a lot of people that are bearish about AI saying that we're going down the wrong road. Of course, you know, there are various different things that you can say, but in my genuine opinion, I don't think that, you know, AI is slowing down. I've heard tons and tons of people, you know, I've seen numerous blog posts by people that work at these companies that are literally saying, look, we are actually pretty scared about the future, because not only is this technology coming, it is also, you know, incredibly powerful, and we're actually racing towards it. Not just, you know, us racing towards it, we're racing against China and other nation states, which is just crazy. And there was also OpenAI Agent Kit. I actually was meant to make a video on this, and a video will still be coming, but essentially OpenAI have released their own agentic builder platform. So this, I would say, is more like an AI agent workflow than an actual AI agent. If you want to know the difference, an AI agent is basically something that can make decisions and then run workflows, where like a workflow is like, you know, you can literally, let's go back to that slide. You can literally see that it has the start point here, and then it's able to, you know, file search, do whatever, and it's able to do other things. But overall, I still think that this is good because a lot of people just, I think certain platforms just don't have it when it comes to the design philosophy in terms of making something that is just extremely user-friendly and broadly, you know, applicable for multiple people. But OpenAI Agent Clip, this is what they released at Dev Day. And I think it's, once again, something that, you know, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how agentic workflows move forward. And it was super, super interesting to see this as well. So if you haven't, you know, realized, OpenAI, they're basically making something that is very, very similar to what NAN have. And so I would be intrigued to see where it does go and where it does develop in the future. Now, this was also something that, once again, surprised me quite a lot. And this was a paper called Less is More: Recursive Reasoning with Tiny Networks. So they spoke about HRMs, which is something that was pretty crazy because it was like this smaller model that was smarter than ChatGPT. And it wasn't just ChatGPT, it was like the very, very best models. But this was a tiny 7 million parameter model that beat DeepSeek R1, Gemini 2.5, and O3 Mini at reasoning. And get this, guys, this is where, like, you know, people, you know, started to realize that, wait a minute, this is pretty crazy. The benchmark that it actually performed well on was Arc AGI 1 and Arc AGI 2, which is crazy because those are the benchmarks which are meant to be resistant to, you know, the kind of benchmarks that most people say AI wouldn't do well at. So those benchmarks, the AGI benchmarks, are essentially ones that are resistant to reasoning, meaning that you can't really prepare for those tests. And it's pretty, well, it's near impossible for the AI to, you know, sort of memorize the training data, which is something that a lot of current AI systems do have an issue with. So this is how it works. Okay, it's called TRM from Samsung. So it was 10,000 times smaller, but also smarter. So it first drafts the initial answer. Unlike the LLM that writes word by word, it generates a quick, complete draft of the solution. And this is basically like its first rough guess. Then it creates a scratch pad, which is like a, you know, separate space for its internal thoughts, latent reasoning scratch pad. And this is where the real magic happens. So what it does is it, you know, intensely self-critiques. The model enters an error of intents in a loop, and it compares its draft answer to the original problem. And it just refines its reasoning again and again, like 6 times in a row, asking itself, does my logic hold up? Where are the errors? And then after this area, what happens is that it then decides to create a new improved draft from that thinking. So it's, of course, now got a better draft. And then, of course, it just repeats this until it's confident. So the entire process is draft, think, revise, and that's repeated 16 times, all the way up to 16 times. And then each cycle just pushes the model closer to a correct, logical, sound solution. And I think it's pretty crazy that, like, if we're seeing these things work with these, you know, smaller models where they're able to really push the boundaries of, you know, what's going on with these, you know, larger models. I mean, think about what happens when, you know, in 5 years from now, like, how smart is AI going to be if it's able to perform something like this, but at a grander scale? Things like this just really get me thinking about where AI will be in the future. Now, if you want to talk about major breakthroughs, we need to talk about what's going on with Neuralink. So Neuralink is, of course, a company that is the BCI company that was founded by Elon Musk. And in this video, this is someone using a robotic arm controlled by their brain. Now, the reason I'm including Neuralink in the video is because the Neuralink is, you know, using AI to interpret those signals. So the signals from the brain, you know, converting those neural patterns, those electrical signals, and, you know, to convert them into meaningful commands, you need machine learning and AI models. And the implant software is going to have to, you know, learn how a brain expresses certain intentions. And that's more classic AI, but, you know, it's still something that I think people should pay attention to because, you know, this is really, really sci-fi. Like, this is like, I'm borderline speechless when looking at this because it just doesn't even make sense. Like, how is someone like, I'm so speechless that someone can use their own brain to control their robot arm to get something done. And I mean, I've seen movies where people did this, and of course it was like dramatized or whatever, but the fact that this is happening in real life is very, very crazy. Like there is certainly, I guess you could say, this area of Twitter where you can just see that like the future is certainly going to be very, very interesting. So, I mean, Neuralink's brain computer interface is pretty crazy that it can do this. And I think this is also a good thing because a lot of people hate AI and they say that AI is bad and this and that. And, you know, AI does have its really, really bad flaws in terms of, you know, the amount of things it's currently doing. But I would say that, you know, use cases like this where, you know, I've seen also someone who was able to get their voice back through 11 Labs. They cloned their voice before they had like a not terminal illness, but an illness that like removed their voice, you know, and people that can, you know, have technologies like this. I mean, I really do hope the future is a lot more prosperous than it is now. Now, if we're going to get into, you know, of course, this is a robot arm. If we're going to get into robots, DoorDash did release a new little robot. I'm not sure if this is going to be the future of delivery. I mean, this would have to be existing in only completely safe neighborhoods, but essentially, you know, Uber Eats, if you order on DoorDash or whatever it is you order, this is basically automating the delivery service. And yeah, it's just like a little autonomous robot that essentially just delivers your food. So I've seen things like this being rolled out in America and different boroughs, and I've seen videos. I haven't seen any in the UK. Maybe I'm just not in those areas, but I do think it's kind of like an insight to how the future might be with robots that are able to, you know, just make our lives easier, because delivery is a bit of a tedious job in the sense that you're just picking up a parcel and placing it down somewhere else, just delivering it. I mean, especially when it's just food. And there are all sorts of issues that I really do feel sorry for people that, you know, just trying to earn a living, and then they face customers that are rude, customers that are disrespectful, customers that say their order didn't arrive, and then they like try to scam the driver and the driver loses the job. It's just really, really awful. So, I mean, this is just super, super interesting that we have these little, you know, robots out there that are like going around now and are delivering food, especially in certain neighborhoods. So it will be interesting to see when this does roll out, and we'll have to see what kind of regulations are going to be impacted, because this is new technology, it's new ground, and it's going to be interesting for sure. Now, if we decide to go on to Figure here, I saw this video, and yes, I'm going to get to it, but I saw this video of Figure, which has passed 5 months running in the BMW X3 body shop production line. So that's a robot that has been running for 10 hours per day, every single day of production, which is, of course, pretty different to what humans can do, because, you know, humans have to go to sleep. They have to, you know, do different things. But this was pretty crazy, because I think it goes to show what the future of factories look like when you've got, you know, I mean, infinitely scalable humanoids to be able to build factories that could build pretty much anything that you would want. Of course, there are certain industries where humanoids might not be applicable, but I think this is, you know, a glimpse into the future of automation, because robotic arms are there. You can literally see them above. But of course, you know, humanoids, they just add like another level of, you know, automation that you could do with, you know, in just a way that you couldn't really do before. So it's really cool to see that. Now, of course, that was Figure 2. What about the new improved Figure 3? So Figure 3 is the latest iteration, the 3rd generation, built from the ground up for Helix, which is Figure's vision language AI system. Okay, and it's safe, intuitive, it's domestic use, and it's for mass manufacturing and scalable, low-cost production. So this is pretty crazy to me, because, and so the thing that most people aren't realizing about this as well is that Figure 3 actually has a new complete AI brain, which is really good. It's like next gen reasoning and perception. And they did this really, really cool launch video, which was pretty amazing, because most demonstrations nowadays, people are complaining that, oh, the robot is just dancing. Oh, the robot is just doing a mundane task. But nope, this is a robot that is walking, it is thinking, it is acting, and it is doing things inside of a home. And honestly, can we just say for a moment, how good does that design look? Like, I mean, these robots don't need to look great, but like, that design is impeccable. I would almost argue that it looks better than the Tesla bot. And I'm not saying this to hate on Elon Musk or the Tesla fan club, but honestly, I just respect this design. This design looks absolutely incredible. It looks futuristic, and that company have moved insanely quick for existing for, I think, only about 2 years now. So I mean, 20 years, could you imagine what humanoids look like in the next 20 years with all of the current AI developments going on? I have no idea what they will look like. And so it's pretty crazy, because it's got like expanded depth of field, it's got embedded palm cameras, it keeps visual awareness even if like its main cameras are blocked. It's got tactile sensors. You can detect as little as 3 grams of pressure, which is basically a paperclip. You know, this enables delicate object handling, slip prevention. It's got 10 gigabytes of wave offload, and you know, robots upload terabytes of data for additional fleet learning. So these robots are going to be able to improve themselves over time. This is crazy. Like, this is just absolutely insane. I want to know, is the race now going to be between Figure and Tesla? That's what it seems like. It seems like those guys are going to go head to head, because the founder, honestly, Brett Adcock, is so relentlessly focused on just making this the best thing ever. So honestly, I can't wait to see where they go. And this is, you know, pretty incredible. It's pretty incredible just to see this thing in the home and how it's moving. Now, it is a little bit slow, but nonetheless, it is still working. Okay. And I think that, you know, these robots being not even as slow, like they're not realistically that slow, but I think for them to be, you know, in the home, I think them being gentle and slow and, you know, moving with, you know, smoothness, I think that is a good thing. You know, they say slow is smooth, and you know, that's also pretty fast. So we also, and now if we're talking about robots and robotics, we have to think about, you know, China. So there have been, you know, numerous robots released from China. I won't get into all of that, but I came across this article that was surprising, because this is now the second time that Western executives have come back from China and they've been somewhat terrified. So for me, this was like, oh, okay, this is not good, because if China is ahead, then what does that mean for, you know, I mean, like power? Like, what does that mean? Because realistically, intelligence is power, and you know, if you have the best intelligence, then eventually you can have the best power. I mean, the smarter you are, the better weapons you can build. If you can build the better weapons, well, of course, that's like the backbone for stability, I guess you could say. So, I mean, it says here, if we lose this, we do not have a future at Ford, says Jim Farley, the CEO at Ford. China added 295,000 industrial robots last year. The United States added 34,000, and the UK added 2,500. Operation Warp Speed Reindustrialization. Go, go, go. So this was crazy. This was pretty crazy, because, you know, people have come back from China and they're thinking robotics has catapulted Beijing into a dominant position in many industries. And I think people don't realize that, you know, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, China decided to just go all in on robotics. Like, they have incentives for companies. They're like, go in on robotics. And I genuinely, like, this is no exaggeration. Like, I think it's every 2 weeks I've seen a new amazing humanoid robot from China. The only thing I think they are somewhat lacking is the ability to grip certain things like Boston Dynamics has. And I mean, you've already seen the Unitary. The Unitary, I probably should include it in this video at some point, but what it's been able to do recently, I can't even believe it. Like, I was speechless again, like wow, like I'm here looking at AI pace, like I know where things should be, and this is like, it can do that. Like, it did a front flip. I mean, honestly, I'm actually gonna go find the video now, because I think you have to understand. If I do apologize, but this is the video that has been doing rounds on Twitter, because people were extremely surprised that the robot was as good as it is. Now, I gotta be honest, guys, this is 1 time speed. This is what, like I want you to understand that, like, he kicks down the robot, and within like 0.3 seconds, the robot is on its feet and it's stable. And it's just like incredible that a humanoid robot, where you think it's clunky, it's slow, like that's what I'm used to seeing. This robot is able to do flips on its head, literally a flip on its head. Like, the first time I saw that, I was like, what on earth has gone on? Like, how have they, you know, done this? Like, it's just absolutely incredible that we now have robots that are able to do these feats, and you can see the agility of these things is absolutely incredible. And I mean, the reason that, like, I'm so speechless is because I imagine that, like, a robot is going to be able to do, you know, not only, you know, be as smart as the world's smartest person, but also going to be able to, you know, move like this, reason like this, and is going to, you know, be doing things in the real world. Now, this Unitary G1, it doesn't have, like, you know, real world like reasoning. You know, I mean, it is able to like flip itself off, but it's not on the level of Boston Dynamics where it can like grip things and stuff like that. But I think that robotics eventually does get there, and this is the first, you know, time where it's like, okay, we can now see that when hardware is not a limitation, like they make the complete robot body that's able to, you know, do backflips, or it's able to run 100 miles an hour, it's able to bend in ways that humans can't. I mean, we have to start to, you know, wonder, where is our place in this world? I mean, it's going to be pretty crazy. Now, I also saw this, that AI now has its own, kind of productivity index. So this is something called Apex. This is really good because AI is changing the labor market. And I personally believe that AI is changing the labor market more than these companies are letting on. And the reason I will say that is because capitalism is a society that, it's basically like, people want to make money. That's the truth. And how do you make more money? You don't have employees. If you could fire your employees, all of these companies would be so profitable so quickly. So there's a large incentive for these companies to get rid of their employees and still maintain and, keep a ridiculous profit margin. We know that the increase in profit margin don't actually trickle down to the workers, because I'm not going to start getting in about capitalism and this and that, but like, it just doesn't happen. Like, people don't redirect those profits, at least for the most part. So this is something that kind of, tracks the model performance on real deliverables across law, finance, consulting, and medicine. And it just basically looks at that. So take a look at this, because I think you might have missed this.
We decided to test how well today's leading AI models can actually do your job, and the results are astounding. Introducing the AI Productivity Index, or APEX, an evaluation that measures how well we've automated the most valuable industries in the world. We studied model capabilities in law, medicine, consulting, and finance, in partnership with industry experts in each domain. Cass Sunstein, the most cited legal scholar, Eric Topol, one of the most cited physicians, Dominic Barton, former managing partner of McKinsey, and of course, Larry Summers, former US Treasury Secretary, president of Harvard, and board member at OpenAI. Larry, the results of Apex are incredible. Are we on track to automate hundreds of millions of jobs in the economy?
What's clear is that as with the coming of power, as with the coming of electrification, this is going to be important economic transformation, which is going to create huge opportunity, but also is going to involve real challenges of management.
Apex is designed to give an accurate forecast of how AI is going to impact jobs, but this version just scratches the surface of measuring model capabilities. In future iterations, we'll go deeper, with more industries, more complex tasks, and a more holistic understanding of how AI is going to reshape jobs in the economy. This is just the beginning.
Now, there was also CodeMender, which is essentially an autonomous AI agent that basically just, automatically fixes and, secures code. It's built using the Gemini models. It autonomously detects, patches, and rewrites code to eliminate vulnerabilities. It's already contributed to 72 security fixes to open source products and introduces innovations like automatic validation, multi-agent critique systems, and program analysis tools. And honestly, I think once again, this is where we start to see that like Google was just doing so much. Like, Google is literally probably going to be, I think personally, the best AI company in the world, because I've seen their research, I've read the papers. I don't want to say like I've read through everything, but I will say that Google are just attacking everything from every angle: video, images, coding, just absolutely everything, every angle Google can get their hands on. They are really just going for it all. Now, if we're talking about, new AI releases and stuff like that, one thing that I did see was this company called MoonLake. And essentially, they basically are building a simple mission, okay? They want to create an AI that can have real-time, AI simulations and AI games. And this is something that I think is going to be an increasing trend as we move towards realities that can potentially be simulated on the fly. So the reason I'm starting to include these companies in the videos is because I actually went onto the YC website, and I promise you guys, I'm not getting distracted by showing you guys this, but like, if you just go on like fall 2025 and you look at like, AI, for example, and you look at like all of these companies, so many different companies are futuristic what they're working on. And it shows you that like, even if it's not some major OpenAI or Anthropic release, so many companies out there are working on things that are really going to change the world. Like, even if these companies don't make multi billions of dollars, they're still going to be changing the economy. And it's so intriguing to see some of the products that, some of them you can use and some of them, are super interesting. So this is one that I wanted to show you guys because I think this is pretty promising.
MoonLake's inner workings are similar to Claude code, but multimodal. Code encodes reproducible logic that governs the rules of the world, while also orchestrating multimodal models to iterate based on visual and spatial feedback. Our reasoning models doesn't just reason about what to do, but which agents to do it and in what representation.
Let's say I tell MoonLake I want to create a medieval town with a market for my RPG game. First, The terrain with stony, grassy grounds is built. A person in a medieval work outfit is generated. The agent then decides that he is a fruit supplier. The fruit supplier needs fruits and a way to transport them, so 3 wheelbarrows appear. He then needs a destination, so a stall asset is made with empty baskets awaiting goods. But a stall needs a keeper. A fruit seller steps forward and waves her hand as the market comes alive. We now add a mysterious main character into the medieval world. Our character has been given keyboard movement and animations. So let's explore the scene. You're watching our reasoning models act like teammates. This all comes together into a cohesive experience.
We see the agent has added a stall here. Maybe we can create a nice carnival game. Let's make this carnival game playable. The level design agents set up a stall with cups. The avatar agent introduces a woman hosting the carnival. The mechanics agent implements a gun mechanism to shoot the cup down. Want it to feel that black and white or comic book style? You can actually reskin this experience in a completely different art style.
We hope you've enjoyed this glimpse into what's possible, but the real magic begins when it's in your hands.
And if you share our excitement for what we're building, we'd love to hear from you.
Now, if we're talking about AI games, apparently Elon Musk has announced that his XAI game studio will release an AI-generated game before the end of 2026. Now, there are around, I think, 80 days or so until the end of 2026. So that could probably be right before the end of 2026. And I will say, Elon Musk does have optimistic timelines, but I will also say that he's moved incredibly quickly with his Grok AI. So I wouldn't be surprised if this does occur. But this is actually going to bring me on to my next point. And this is a rather important one because recently, like before, it was just maybe this was a niche thing, but time and time again, I'm starting to see this trend a lot more. Let me know in the comment section if you've seen this a lot more, because you are watching this video because largely you want to know about the latest AI developments. And this is what I'm seeing online, you know, like every day, almost every day now. So someone tweeted that this has announced that a whole will release a blank before the end of 2026. The only reason I'm saying this is because I don't think those words are that bad, but I just also don't want to get demonetized. And this is not the only time that I've seen this kind of AI hate. I mean, we saw this as well. So it says Spotify is partnering with ChatGPT, and a tweet said, retweet if you actually just hate AI. This had 250,000 likes, 90,000 retweets. And this was just a very simple tweet that, oh, Spotify is partnering with ChatGPT. They're just going to recommend you good music. And now it's just like, I absolutely hate AI. Once again, I saw another tweet that was about this. And this is fair. This is fair because this is like, okay, you know, articles written by AI is now dominating the internet. And we take a look at this and it says you do not hate AI enough. And I'm seeing this almost every single day now. Like, it's hard to get away from how much people are hating AI. And I want to know what you guys think. Do you guys think these people are Luddites? Do you think they are just, you know, valid in their concerns about AI? I mean, for sure, AI is taking over social media. And I personally think that, you know, with the release of Sora 2, with the proliferation of AI, I do think that there will be a new form of social media needed, and that's why I want to talk about World ID. I'm not going to talk about it for longer than 30 seconds, but essentially all it is that, you know, you have a system that verifies that you are a human, so you're completely credible online, and essentially it just makes online a better place to be, because right now we're in stage 3, I guess you could say, like 3 years after the release of ChatGPT, and imagine what it's like 30 years, how many agents are going to be online, how many AI profiles are there going to be. It's going to be pretty hard to stand out as a human. So World ID, I'm not sure if it will work. We'll have to see. But if you enjoyed this video, I'll see you in the next one.